The Last Kingdom Season 5 ending explained. Well, the final season was filled with everything that we've come to expect in The Last Kingdom, and it definitely delivered. But what did the ending mean? Well, let's find out. Here is The Last Kingdom Season 5 ending explained. Just to let you know, this video will contain spoilers. The final season sets up its conclusion with Uhtred setting out to get his ancestral land of Bebbanburg, the place where his story began all the way back at the beginning of the show. It was originally taken by his uncle Alfric and then inherited by his evil cousin Hwitgar. There was a plan for Alfwin and King Constantine to be wed against her will, which was something that was put in place only down to the fact that the ruler would be said to adopt a vast amount of wealth if he were to do so. King Edward later hears of the plan that's put in place and reluctantly sends Uhtred off to get between the pair and stop the eloping and retrieve Alfwin before the marriage takes place. Once a group of men had been formed, they set out on their mission. After a short period of time, they soon get discovered, which leads Hasten to take himself due to the fact that he doesn't want to betray anybody. Even with that done, the repercussions are clear and the plan is set to have grinded to a halt. Time passed on, and as Edward hadn't heard anything from Uhtred and the troops, it led him to believe that they'd been killed on the mission. Even though the council strongly did advise King Edward not to proceed with his actions, King Edward himself travelled with an army of troops to Bebbanburg and threatened a siege. This is to stop the wedding from taking place. This is then when one of the best battles in the series occurs. We see blood, brutality, and extreme barbaric moments. Some that only you could imagine people would have experienced at the time. As the battle goes on, it becomes clear that the Saxons are the weaker of the two, and they've been lured into a false sense of security who get distracted by a fake evacuation that was planned to trap them. Constantine's army is far too strong, and it looks as though it could be the end for not only the Saxon army, but King Edward himself, as they're all backed onto a cliff. And with that, we've seen many of the men be forced off of it as there was simply nowhere else for them to go. But this is then when we see a slight twist. We see Uhtred arrive with his men amongst all of the chaos, and Uhtred then sees his daughter. We know that earlier on there was a hunt to find her, so it's no real surprise that she did end up making an appearance. After Uhtred explains all of the plan to his daughter, she allows the army to follow him into battle, which switches things up completely, and the Saxons start to take the upper hand. Once this is happening, Uhtred goes off behind the Bebbanburg gates and seeks out to find his cousin Hwitgar, and he ultimately kills him, which allows Uhtred to claim back Bebbanburg and complete the circle of the show for the character. He's back where he belongs and where his journey started. As well as this, we see King Edward's son Athelstan get Athelhelm to admit to the involvement in the death of his own daughter, who was unintentionally harmed during his plan to start a war between the Saxons and the Danes. He gets disowned by his grandfather, and he's no longer able to live with the thought of it or the guilt, and ultimately he takes himself. The Saxons in the end put up a brave fight and end up victorious, which leads King Constantine to agree to a truce. It was down to Uhtred to ensure that the kingdoms separating Mercia and Scotland would not lay rule to King Edward. This is something that stays in place despite the fact that King Edward wanted to unite England. However, due to his behaviour, it seems like that's something that will never take place. So, there you have it. The Last Kingdom Season 5 ending explained. What did you think of this show? Leave a comment down below, and don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you next time.